Hello guys, welcome to my channel. I'm so glad you're here. We're going to be doing this Easter chick tutorial. It's nice and squishy, it fits in your hand. I love the design, especially during this time of Easter. I feel like you can put it in the egg, in the little egg hunt, or even just stuff it in the basket as a filler. The feet are one of my little designs that I think are so cute, as well as the beak. I also like to add blush. I feel like it makes it look super cute and nice and bubbly. It's kind of my style. But thank you guys. I hope you enjoyed the tutorial. Let's get into the materials. Okay, we're gonna get into the materials. First off is our yarn. I love using the Colorcraft acrylic from Loops and Threads. It has a nice thickness to it. It's really soft as well. It is one of my favorites. It is a weight 4 yarn. And also, if you're new to Amigurumi crochet, it does tell you to use a 5mm hook, but we always want to go a 0.5 or a whole size smaller when we're doing Amigurumi, just so you don't have holes in your plushie. As you can see, I'm going to be using a 0.4mm hook. Apart from the yarn that we're going to be using, we're also going to use scissors, your 4mm crochet hook. I'm going to use light yellow yarn as well as a mustard yellow color. You can use a bright orange, but I like the way these two mix, so I'm going to be using the mustard yellow. You're also going to need some safety eyes. I got these off of Amazon. They come in a little kit. I am going to be using the smaller safety eyes just because it is a smaller plushie. I think I'm going to be using this size right here. You can also use bigger eyes if you'd like. Here's the little size difference. I do like to add blush on my plushies, like I said, so I'm going to be using the smaller one right there. I also like to use these metal yarn needles. I like them because the eye is really big, allowing the yarn to go through really easily, as well as the bent part at the end. It just makes it easier to poke out of your plush. These are my favorite ones that I've found so far. They're very sturdy. They don't bend or they don't break like other yarn needles that I've used in the past. And it's honestly one of my favorite ones I've used. I've never lost any. And I also use the original polyfill stuffing. I love the texture. It fluffs up super great. I will have everything linked down below, but let's get started on round 1. Okay, round 1, we're going to start with a magic circle with 6 single crochets in it. I'm going to start off with my slip knot. I like to do it with my fingers. I know some people like to do it on their hook. But after I get my slip knot, I put the loop on my hook and I pull the tail to make it tight. And with the tail, we're going to do our magic ring. So I like to loop it, hold both of the strings of yarn from the loop in my fingers, and then I do my magic ring. So I put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And that is our first round. Remember, with the magic ring, we're just gonna wanna close it by pulling that tail at the end of it. Try not to pull it too tight on the first round, because then you won't be able to go into your second stitch. And now we're gonna start round 2. It's increase 6 times. So we're gonna go into each stitch twice, and we're gonna end up with 12 stitches at the end. Okay, I'm finishing up the round here. These are my last 2 stitches. This is 11 and 12. And then you always want to double check and pull that string tight just so you don't have that hole in the middle. Now we're going to count our stitches. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And that's end of round 2. So round 3, it's single crochet 1, increase Do that 6 times, you'll end up with 18. Okay, this is the end of round 3. We have a total of 18 stitches. You can see right there, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, and 18. And let's get started on round 4. So round 4, we're going to increase to 24 stitches. You're going to single crochet 2, increase once, do that 6 times, and you'll end up with 24 stitches. As you can see here, I messed up a little bit, so I'm just undoing that real quick and starting with that round, and I'll see you guys at the end of it. Okay, and we're at the end of round 4. About on this round, you'll see that it starts getting this little round shape to it. That's the head of our chick. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, and 24 stitches. Okay, after round 4, we have rounds 5 through 8. Those are going to be continuous rounds of 24 single crochet. If you're a beginner, double check every time you finish a round to see if you haven't lost any stitches. After this, we have round 9, but this part completes the head part of our chick. Okay, for round 9, we're going to single crochet 3 times and increase 1 time, for a total of 30 stitches at the end. And this is going to be the body of our chick. And once you get close to the end of this round, you'll start to notice a little lip, or it starts to flare out a little bit. That is the start of the body of our chick. So it will become more prominent as we put in stuffing at the very end, but you can see it slowly starting taking shape. It's starting to look like a little egg. Okay, at the start of round 10 through 13, we're going to work our way in continuous rounds like we did with the head. It's going to be 30 single crochet all the way up until we get to round 13. Okay, I am on the last round. I'm on round 13. As you can see, we're building up the body of our chick. One more round to go, and then the body of our chick will be finished. And you always want to make sure you are still left with 30 stitches at the end. If you're a beginner, try to use a stitch marker, or remember to count your rows at the very end to make sure you have the same amount of stitches. Okay, and these are the last stitches of round 13. As you can see, our chick is really coming together. We are next going to insert the safety eyes. As you can see, there's a little loop at the top in between our magic ring, I always like to make sure that is perpendicular to my fingers, and it's just an easier way for me to find the middle of my plushie. So as long as that's aligned with my thumb or going in the same direction as where my hand is, that's where I flattened it out. And from there I kind of find the middle, so I know where to place my eyes. But for this tutorial, you do have a specific row on where you need to put your eyes, because you don't want to put the eyes where the body is. You want to try and put it where the head is on our chick. And our safety eyes are going to go in between the rows 6 and 7. So from the top, count down 6. And once you find the in between of row of 6 and 7, I always try to find and mark out the middle. And from there, it's going to be 6 stitches apart. So counting from where the needle is, 3 this way and 3 the other way. Okay, so grabbing my safety eyes, the kit that I will have linked down below also comes with the washers. I do have an extra container of these, so that's why they're in here. When you order them, it will be like in a little clear baggie. But you're gonna grab the small washer that comes in the kit. Grab 2 of those for both of the eyes. And you're also gonna grab your safety eyes. Make sure they are the same size. You don't want to put your eyes in and then have it look kind of like that surprise emoji. Okay, but see, our needle is in the center, and from there we're gonna go out 3 stitches. So take my needle out, count 1, 2, 3, 4, and that is where our first eye is going to go. And that's just so it stays kind of centered in the face. It really doesn't matter, it's just the way I like to do it. And then from there, we're going to place our second eye 6 stitches apart. So from the visible stitch, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, it's going to go in right there. And that way our eyes are perfectly center and they are also straight. I have noticed if you put it like at the beginning of your row, sometimes that one eye looks a little bit higher than the other. And doing it this way, I've noticed that it doesn't make them as lopsided. And now we're going to insert the washers in the inside of the plushie. And here you see I'm struggling with my nails. But it is really important to put these washers on. It secures the eyes in place, making sure that they don't fall out. Also really important to do it before you close, because you will not be able to get the washers in if you close the plushie up. I've made that mistake before, and you have to undo all your work, and it's so heartbreaking when you have to do that. But now that we have the eyes secured, they're not gonna pop out, and now we can start to close up our plushie. So starting on round 14, we're gonna single crochet 3 times and do 1 decrease. I do the invisible decrease, so I take my last 2 stitches and I put them together only using the front loop. So there you can see our 1, 2, 3 stitches, and then these 4 and 5 we're going to single crochet decrease together. So here's 1, 2, this yarn is really bothering me, 3, and then we're going to go into the front loop of 4 and 5. So as you can see here, very carefully in only the front loop of that V, there's 1 and 2, and then we're going to yarn over. And we're going to pull through both of those front loops. It can be a little tight, but you can wiggle your way in there. Yarn over again and pull through those 2 loops. So now those 2 stitches have turned into 1. And we're going to do that 6 times to decrease this row. And after this row, we will continue to decrease to start closing off our plushie. And I'll see you guys at the start of round 15. So round 15, we're gonna single crochet 2 and single crochet decrease once, and we're going to do that 6 times. And this is going to slowly make our rows smaller, ensuring that our plushie has a round shape. And remember, you always want to double check to make sure you have the right amount of stitches. So at the end of this row, you should have 18 stitches all the way around. Okay, and we're going to start round 16. It's going to be 1 single crochet and 2 single crochet decrease. And at the end of this round, you want to make sure you have 12 stitches all together. And it might start getting a little tight. Just try to wiggle your way into the front loops. If not, you can go through both loops and it will look roughly the same, and there won't be that much of a difference. Okay, and towards the end of this round, as you can see, our hole at the bottom is getting pretty small. So before it gets any smaller, we are going to add our stuffing in there. Right here, I'm just double checking to make sure we have 12 stitches, and we do. So we're all good to go ahead and start stuffing. And I like to make sure I pull my hook out just so it leaves a little tail at the end, and I also use it to grab on so it doesn't get lost inside my stuffy and I can continue to close. So we're gonna add some stuffing now. Our plushie is small, so you're not gonna need a whole bunch, but grab a little poof of stuffing and make sure to fluff it out so it doesn't get too lumpy. And then we're gonna grab our plushie. As you can see, I already put some stuffing inside. And I'm just going to grab my yarn tails and move them out of the way so I don't pull on them and undo my work. And you just want to make sure you put the stuffing in there nice and even, so make sure you poke it around and change the direction of your plushie. And try and feel out whether there's any holes, and try to put some stuffing in there just so it doesn't feel lumpy at the end. You also do not want to overstuff. Crochet does not stretch out too much, but it does stretch out a bit, and you don't want to lose the shape. Also, if you overstuff it, the holes will become more visible and it might stretch out the plushie over time. And I like to adjust my eyes because sometimes when you put the stuffing in there, the eye wants to go in a different direction, and here I'm trying to fix it, but it's kind of hard with my nails and it's kind of frustrating. This eye just keeps bugging me. But as you can see, we have like our head distinction with our body that is a little wider, and it gives it that little egg shape. And I'm just going to stuff a little bit more stuffing because I noticed at the bottom it looks like it might have a hole. But you just want to make sure your plushie is not super hard but still squishy, so it keeps its shape and it doesn't warp. As you can see, there's a little hole here, and so I'm going to grab a little bit more stuffing and put it right there in that little hole, just so my plushie doesn't look lumpy. So as you can see, that I kept bothering me, and I can't do too much with my nails. It makes it kind of hard to grip, but they're super cute and I love them. But I'm gonna use my yarn needle is another reason why I really like these. I can use that little bent tip at the end to adjust the eyes, just so it's not poking out. Okay, now that our plushie is nice and stuffed, time to start on round 17. So we're gonna go all the way down to 6 stitches again. We're gonna decrease, single crochet together 6 times, and finally close up the hole. And when I'm doing the last row, I do like to push the stuffing out of the way a little bit, just so I don't catch it on my needle, just to give it a little bit of a cleaner look. But I'm going to decrease, only doing the front loops, and my needle did not want to go through that stitch. But I'm going to start decreasing and finally close up our plushie so we can start on the embroidery. But in the meantime, while you guys see me close up this plushie, my name is Jack. I just started my YouTube channel and this is my first tutorial. I do have a tiny following on TikTok, and I hope to see some of you guys from there over here. If not, thank you for checking me out. I truly appreciate it. I am trying my best and I hope to post more than just crochet tutorials. I hope to see a little bit more of vlogging or some daily things, or if I go and do something fun or different, I will try my best to record and try and post it on here. I'm really excited to see where this takes me, but I have been crocheting for about 5 years now, full time. I've been doing it about 3, and I am truly grateful that I'm able to do this. But I am at the end of my round and just double checking to make sure I have 6 stitches, and I do. So I'm going to fasten off, and I'm going to cut my yarn, making sure I have a long tail so it lets me sew in the plushie close. So I'm gonna go ahead and take my little scissors, and I'm going to cut a really long tail just to be safe, because I do not like plain yarn chicken. And once it's cut, I just pull my needle, my crochet hook all the way out, leave that tail in there, and I grab my yarn needle and start to sew the hole closed. And here's another reason why I love these needles. The eye is super big, so even if I can't properly grip the yarn with my nails, I'm still able to get a little piece in there and pull all of the yarn through without any trouble. And honestly, these are worth the investment. And how I like to close my plushies is I like to go through each stitch and just weave my needle in and out through all of the stitches, just to make it as seamless as possible. And here, as I'm pulling my yarn, I noticed that it came off, which is really important. Why it's really important to have a long tail, just so your yarn doesn't fall off your needle. But like I was saying, thank you for supporting and maybe coming along with me on this journey as I learn how to do social media stuff. But now I'm going through the last stitches, and I'm going to pull my yarn super tight so it closes the hole, kind of like we did at the top with the magic ring. And as you notice, sometimes you do get like a little bump. I do like to hide that, so I just push my needle through it. And right before I knot off, I make sure I pull it inside. Usually there's a little hole at the bottom still, so when I push that little bump and put my needle in there, it usually hides it pretty well, and I like how finished it looks. But I make sure I pull it super tight just so there's no hole, and then I fasten off. Oh, and now we're gonna start on the wings. So this is really simple. It's just a magic circle with 6 single crochet inside. And the only thing different is when you finish this off, you are going to be left with 2 long tails. So I make sure my magic circle has a super long tail when I do the wings, just so I have enough to tie it off. And I'm just going to make sure I have 6 stitches in there and make sure I don't lose my tail, because I need that to tie it together on the chick. And we're going to do 3, 4, 5, and 6 stitches. After that, I'm going to slip stitch and fasten off, making sure I leave a super long tail on this side as well. And after both things are cut, I'm gonna pull the yarn in the middle of my magic circle. As you can see, it still kind of looks like it's coming out from the middle. So what I like to do is I like to go in my first stitch of my magic circle, make sure I go through both of those loops, and make sure you go into that first stitch, because if not, it's gonna look off. But make sure you go through both of those 2 loops, loop around my string that is in the middle, not at the end of my magic circle, and just pull those through both of the loops, and now you're good to tie it onto the chick, and you can put them wherever you'd like. But it just makes it super simple to make sure you can tie them on and just thread them through with your needle, tie a little knot, and then tuck the strings inside. And so here is our chick without the wings. And now we're gonna do the little beak and the feet, as well as our wings are gonna go somewhere in this area. You can choose whether you want them a little higher up or a little further down. But right now it looks like a little potato or like a chicken nugget. I've sewn on the wings. I put them in between row 8 and about 3 stitches behind the eyes on either side. And like I said, you can just thread the needle, tie a little simple knot, and just tuck the strings back in just so they don't bother you. Super easy to sew it on. But for the beak and the feet, we're going to make sure we get a long strand of that mustard yellow or orange, whichever color you picked, and we're going to put it in between rows 7 and 8, and it's going to be 4 stitches apart. And the way I measure it is I measure in between the eyes. I just make sure they have at least 1 or 2 stitches of space in between the eyes. So again, I'm going to grab my needle and thread my yarn through. And then we are not going to tie a knot at the end of it. We're going to leave it like this. I'm going to show you a different way to tie it off. So this is about where our beak is going to go. And then we're going to make sure we have it 4 stitches apart. And I like to have my beak a little bit below the eyes. So we're going to come out from the middle of the head into a random stitch. Try and make sure there is no yarn that you are poking through with your needle. Make sure you're going into a hole. And go about 1 stitch over from where the eye is. And leave some yarn up top. Do not pull it all the way through. And this is just to make sure that you can tie a knot at the end and hide the strings. Kind of the same thing what you're going to do with the wings. So once our yarn has poked through, we're going to go over 4 stitches. As you can see, I did under the eye 1 stitch over. And we're going to poke out through the other side where we first put in our thread. And this just makes it easier to where we can go down to where our feet are, because we'll be doing that next. And now our beak is done. That was nice and simple. I like to pull it a little tighter just so there's no gap. Next, we're going to go right back into the same hole that we came out from. And you can put your little chicken toes wherever you'd like. I like to put it right where it's about touching the ground, but not at the bottom where you can't see them. I like it when you can see the little toes. And I like to make sure the big toe or the toe in the middle is right in under that eye. So I'm going to poke out at the bottom. And make sure I pull my yarn all the way through so that beak is finished. And then I like to make sure my toe, the little chicken toe, is right above that eye. So I'm going to go up 2 rows and poke out straight through the bottom where my yarn first pokes out. And that's going to be our first toe. Chickens do have 3 toes, so we're going to do this 2 more times. Next, we're going to go only 1 row up and like to go 1 stitch over from where our first toe is. And as you can see, our first toe goes over 1 little hole stitch. We're going to go over 2, 1 and 2. And then we're going to poke out through there. And this is going to make our 3rd toe. There goes our 2nd toe for our chick. And we're going to do the last toe, and we're just going to go poke back in through the very bottom of our big toe. And then we're going to go on the other side, making sure the first toe again is right under the eye. And we're going to do the same thing on the other side. And if you feel like the toe isn't defined enough, I like to take my needle and pull the thread out just a little bit so you can see it a little bit more, so it's not hiding under the other color. But as you can see, I'm going up 2 rows again on the toe in the middle, or the biggest toe. And then I'm going to go over 1 and down 1 row. And that is going to be our 2nd toe. And then again, I'm going to go over 2 stitches and make our 3rd toe. And then I'm going to go right back in where that first toe popped out. And now we're going to tie it off. You're going to poke through the same hole where we first put in and where that tail of yarn is. Again, you want to make sure you're not grabbing any of the light yellow yarn. You want to make sure you go through a hole, or you want to make sure you go through a stitch. Just cut the string so they're even, and I'm just going to double knot both of the strands of yarn that are up there. And after they are tied, I'm going to take my crochet hook and make sure I hide the strings. And as you can see, the knot already seems to be going inside into the plushie, which is a really good sign that you didn't grab any of the other yarn and you went through exactly a stitch, or you went right through the little hole. And now this is kind of what I did with the wings. I did realize I forgot to record it, but once you tie a knot, you're going to poke your crochet hook through the same hole that you tied the strings on, and you're just going to pull it gently, and you can cut the rest of the ends on that are poking out, and then pull your needle just a little bit more and poke out your crochet hook, and our chick is basically done. You can leave it like this, or you can add on a couple little more accessories here and there. I did make one that had a cute little pink bow, and it made it look super cute, but like I said, I love to add blush to my plushies, so I'm going to add blush on its little cheeks, and I do that simply with a little oil pastel and an old brush that I have. But there's our plushie. It is completed. It does stand up on its own. It's super cute, and I just want to squish it all the time. But with the blush, I have this really old makeup brush that I use only for my plushies, and I do like to grab a little pink oil pastel. I like to dab my brush in there like 2 or 3 times, and I just like to dab on some blush on both sides of my plushies just to get it really pigmented in that one area. And sorry, I'm taking off a piece of hot glue. I hot glue a lot of stuff. But once you put in that strong little dab of blush, I do like to blend it out just so it makes it a little softer. And I just do that by doing little swirls on both sides. Here is our completed chick. I am so excited. I'm so happy how it turned out. Let me know if this tutorial was easy to follow or if I need to work on my wording. Thank you guys for coming to my channel and checking me out. Bye!